Make sure it's 360.
It's 360, yeah.
Where's the setting?
It was on the left, so it said 180 at first.
Yeah.
I clicked it, now it says 360.
Oh.
So yeah, but I think when we turn it off, it goes
Yeah.
back to 180.
Just hoping it doesn't only record my face the whole entire trip.
Well, probably still put it out.
Just my live reaction.
Live reaction.
It's like Tucker Carlson, but.
Seats. Same with you guys.
Nice.
Anywhere you want.
All right. Got it. Yeah.
Shit about half.
Good. Check this out.
Ooh.
No, hell no.
Yeah. I still wonder what that is. That thing?
Yeah, somewhere you like.
It's a good spot.
This is all one group, right? Yeah, you can take out these back two seats. You can also, we got an extra seat.
Never seen a boat like this. Never seen a boat like this.
Thank you.
It's like really different though.
Yeah.
¿Vas a hacer foto? Foto. Trae.
Dentro
de mí luego no me digas que quieres ir con
Really, you got a camera? I've been a photographer, boy. I could have done some of my life.
Huh?
I could have been a photographer or something.
What's up? You still can. It's never too long.
¿Me vas a partir a mí? No, pero ves lateral, excusa. ¿El barco va a partir por la mitad? ¿A partir de cuándo?
Like, so I've had a couple people come out. I'm like, yeah, you were here a couple weeks ago. They're like, no, this was like last year. And
Hello.
Yeah, well, welcome back.
Hello, guys.
You see the sea lion?
All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Joey. If I haven't already introduced myself, I'm going to be driving your trip this afternoon. So we just have to go over a couple of things before we get out there.
Oh, I see them.
First off, welcome aboard. This is the Elkhorn. It is a 37-foot long, all-electric powered catamaran. What we do with it is a tour of the Elkhorn Slough. So the slough here is it's a really special place. It's an inland waterway. It goes back somewhere between 5 and 7 miles east of where we are now, and it's a really, really calm, placid waterway. And this boat is really stable boat, awesome for viewing wildlife, great platform. So we want you to feel free to start, while we're moving around, you can stand up and make your way around the boat. This boat can take the whole capacity of the boat on one rail without really altering its ability at all. So feel free to make your way around. We want you to be able to stretch your legs and get a good look at these animals. Another one of the things about the slough that's really special is just the density of wildlife. So we have the densest population of wildlife that is here in the Monterey Bay area. So you can expect these animals to be popping up on one side or the other of the boat, and they'll be moving from the front towards the back as I make my way slowly by them. I'm going to do my best not to run the boat right up on any one animal, so that we kind of allow them an opportunity to rest. That's what most of these animals are here to do, is to sort of rest and sort of raise their young. So we want to allow them the opportunity to do that. That being said, we do often get really close looks at these animals. So if that's what you're here for, then you're welcome. If you need to see an animal that's maybe a little farther away, I do have a couple of pairs of binoculars stuff. On our last trip, we saw a couple of raptors, and we were actually able to get a good close look at those without the binoculars. But if you want the binoculars, they are back there for you. You kind of share them as. As you're making your way around the boat, a couple of things. I want to keep everybody off of this foredeck here, so no sitting, standing, or walking on the foredeck. And then we'll keep you in front of the rear seating area, so you guys are great where you are, but unless I expressly invite you over the back of the rear seats, we'll keep you in front of those rear seats. We do carry some emergency response equipment on board. The main thing is life jackets. That's the main thing you would have to worry about in the event of an emergency. We got 34 adult life jackets here in this locker to the left-hand side. There are 15 child life jackets in this locker to the right-hand side. Those are unlocked at all times and clearly labeled. There's a life ring at the back of the boat. However, if anybody were to fall overboard, I would be the one that was deploying that. If I fall overboard, we've got Aaron here. So we got a lot of redundancy there. There is a fire extinguisher here in the locker that's underneath the center console. So the fire extinguisher, that's where that is kept. And that's it for all of the stuff that you absolutely need to know. I do want to take a moment to kind of introduce Aaron here. Aaron is going to be our naturalist. His role today is to be giving you some context as to what you're seeing. Now there is a lot to see, but what I think is more interesting than what we're seeing is some of the ecological processes behind what we're seeing. This is a very, very special place. And Aaron is going to help you come to find that out. So what does help is if you have any questions, any comments, any observations, please don't keep those to yourself. We want to make this about you and how you're experiencing the slough. So the more input we get from you, the better this tends to be as far as making this about what you're interested in. So if we don't have any questions, comments, or concerns, we can go ahead and start this whole thing off. Sound good?
Yep.
All right.
We're hungry.
You ready?
You guys have enough
Like a
room?
lunch?
Yeah. Could have been a sailor.
Mm-hmm.
Orange juice seems to have faded.
Should have brought a hat or something.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was open.
Evidence of an orange juice.
Me neither. What the heck? We cut the bottle in half.
And these are the only ones I wore. Except one night I wore my black.
Maybe,
ones.
yeah, maybe wear a new pair for Mark.
The sun,
You think?
boy. We need to get going. Or you get hit by the wind.
Yeah.
He will. I want you to tell one. Now the other thing I
that?
wanted to know that I've
Who's
not
that?
been doing is I was
that?
seeing blue shirt.
Well, what you don't know is that he's
Is it
got
like-
like 10 of those.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
field dog?
Okay. It just looked like it. That one's
Dang.
still up there.
Check it out. Freaking see ya.
Splashing around.
All right, folks, as we get going, once again, my name's Aaron. Quick thing, anytime you got a question, just feel free to shout it out at me. It doesn't matter if I'm in the middle of something. I'm more than happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's a lot of cool stuff out here. A little about this place. Currently, we're in South Harbor. Back behind us is North Harbor, but back under that bridge is the Elkhorn Slough itself. We'll spend most of the time back there, but we like coming here for these guys. All these are California sea lions. If you live anywhere around the coast, you are abundantly familiar with these guys. They're all over the place. There's a bunch over here.
Just chilling.
Oh yeah, on the
What
dock.
we're mostly looking at, these are mostly juvenile males. The way you can tell, if you look at their foreheads, they got this big bump there that's called a sagittal crest. What that does allows for a lot more for muscle attachments for their jaws, allow them to go after larger prey items, better defend their territories, stuff like that. Look at these two guys, they're going to start kind of going at it. As they start getting older, they start becoming more territorial, so they start kind of vying for territory and potential mating rights. They physically mature at about 2 or 3 years old. They don't socially mature until they're almost 9, so that's a long time of just kind of doing this. Sometimes it feels like looking in the mirror, you know. I've seen this somewhere before. Being a teenager until you're almost 30. But they got real big. They got anywhere from 500 to 800 pounds, all the way up to 1,000 pounds as adults. That's for the males. Females are quite a bit smaller. They weigh only about 300 to 400 pounds. And see, these two, they were just fighting a moment ago, and now they're just like, bah, whatever. It's not really in earnest. They kind of just end up laying on top of each other. Going for a good scratch there. Look at that.
That's awesome.
Every so often you'll see them in the water with their fins up. That's a form of thermoregulation. That's the way that they stay warm out here. This water is really cold. It's about 45 to 55 degrees year round. It's about 15 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so they gotta make sure they don't get hypothermia. So what they'll do is they'll they don't have any blubber on these fins, and so they become a major source of heat loss if they keep them in for too long. Stick them out and just kind of hang around like that. There you go. No.
You don't know?
That's a good question. It might be blood from an injury. Maybe there was a boat here a minute ago and maybe cut some fish up there or something. I don't know.
Do the fellas of the boats
Yeah, sometimes there's boat strikes. There's also been a huge amount of shark attacks recently. Yeah, so there's a lot of white sharks out there right now.
Are we connected to the ocean from here?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
Yeah, so the harbor mouth is right up ahead. Into the
Oh.
Actually, good thing leading me into that. So we're known as a huge amount of biodiversity out here, even compared to much of the Monterey Bay. And a lot of that has to do with this major canyon that's right outside the harbor mouth right here. It's about the same size as the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
It's about 300 miles long, 11,000 feet deep. A bunch of cold nutrient-rich water gets pumped up on windy days, and that's feeding everything at the base of the feed road. That's why we got things like resident blue whales and resident humpback. But it starts right there. I mean, you go out 150 yards, and it drops from 40 feet down to 600.
Wow.
In a very short order.
What are most of these boats catching?
So these ones, this is just a drill rig. That's a whale watcher. Those ones back there with the cranes are squid boats. Yeah. So squid is kind of our major export out here during the summer. Also anchovies. And then, yeah, and then occasionally there's crab during the winter.
Is this part mostly saltwater?
It is entirely saltwater.
Entirely saltwater, okay.
Yeah, and everywhere we're going to go today is all saltwater. There's no fresh water.
I'm not saying this.
Can I walk over there? You can stand up.
They go out through here. Yeah, so in the mornings they go out and feed.
Look at these birds.
Yeah, and there's like
Yeah. That's the life right there. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, I never seen
Also
them.
coming out here, we got all these birds. These are Brandt's cormorants. These guys are completely unlike any other bird you're going to see today. They are exceptional divers. They can drop down over 200 feet. They can hold their breath almost 25 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That is a long time. And this is helped by the fact that they have solid bones.
Let me take a picture.
Yeah.
25 minutes.
I'm gonna walk
Yeah,
over there.
it's pretty crazy. They have solid bones that help them
Okay.
dive. Yeah, they're pretty wild. But I'm sure you smell that. That's their nests. They make their nests out of the grossest things they can find. They make them out of rotting algae, rotting eelgrass, rotting fish, copious amounts of other species, parts of dead birds. There's also chicks in here. So keep your eye out. Yeah. But the reason why they do this is because they're taking advantage of the fact that all this decay is an exothermic reaction. It's giving off heat. So they keep their eggs warm. And I know this is a bad time to mention this, but one of the ways they defend themselves is by pooping on things. Oh! They put out like a quarter pint at a time.
Una forma de defenderse de las cosas es cagándose encima. Cagándose encima.
There's a baby, little tiny baby in there. That's probably just a couple days old. They grow really fast. After about 50 days, they're adult size and they can fly. They don't fly very well though. They're very heavy. You'll see some. You've probably been seeing some pelicans, like the ones up ahead. They are 3 times the size, but they weigh less. Pelicans weigh about 9 pounds. These guys weigh up to 14. And then this is the ocean out to the left here. Where that buoy is, that's about 400 feet deep.
Wow.
This canyon was carved by the Salinas River somewhere between 700,000 and 5 million years ago. The canyon was carved by the Salinas River by around up to 5 million years ago, from 700,000. All right, as we come into this bridge though, I'll have you all take a seat really quick. It gets real close, and I just want to not start this off with a concussion. That would be really cool.
Concussion. This camera takes really nice pictures.
I bet.
If you get the target finder and set it to like a good quality and zoom in, like even zooming in is good.
Advertisement for cyber shop.
Yeah, check it out. Pull out the target finder on the left side, like where your index finger is.
Yeah.
Like if you get this.
So these are sighting for coming into the harbor.
These are not coming out.
Oh.
So on the other one, there's
Amen.
Amen
when
on
you're
what?
out,
Is
and
it
Amen through the target finder.
one's higher than the other. Lined up, that means you're
Oh.
It shows you how to stabilize the picture. Oh.
It knows like when I'm looking at it.
There's not much out here, just kayakers.
All right, so this is the Elkhorn Slough itself.
You can just
little about
press
this
it
place.
in.
We have the highest population
That
density of
turns
southern
off.
sea otters, and you can walk around now. You can walk around the entire trip till we come back to the bridge.
It's turned
But,
off.
yeah, we got about 120 otters right now. That's about 5% of the population total.
You press the record mode too.
All of them. Yeah. Of southern sea otters, yeah. So there's about 2,600 southern sea otters and 18,000 northern sea otters. And there was a third species called the Japanese sea otter, but they're extinct now.
Oh. Look over there. That one's flapping his wings.
I don't know how to use this. Yo, switch. I don't know how to use it.
There was an otter just behind us. I totally forgot to point it out. I've gotten so used to them being around everywhere that they don't even hardly register. got some. There's one off to the right. I saw a couple up ahead. There's one just dove by those kayaks. The thing about these otters, they are not native to the slough itself. They were introduced here as part of a rehabilitation project starting back in the 90s. Monterey Bay Aquarium would find sick and injured otters, bring them back to the aquarium, get them nice and strong, redeposit them here. It's kind of a soft re-entry back into the ocean. Wait, there's an otter off to the left there. But they did all that. Please help us out with the urchin population, and they were like, "No, we're good. We're gonna hang out here where there are no urchins. Never been any urchins, because it's 5 feet deep here, just on average. There's more food than they could ever want. This is as rough as it gets. There's no predators. Why the heck should they leave? So they didn't. So now we got 120 here.
Wow.
See a lot of grooming and sleeping and eating. That's kind of the things that otters do. It seems like a pretty simple life. Trust me, it's not. These guys are the only marine mammals not to have blubber. Look at that. There's a little one off to the left there. We saw a mom and pup earlier on the last trip. That was like just a couple weeks old. Fingers crossed we'll see it. This is a mom and pup with an older pup. Kind of out to our 11. But, yeah, so otters, the only marine mammals not to have blubber. They rely entirely on that thick fur to stay warm. That's a pretty high maintenance thing to have, you know. You got to constantly maintain it in order to get any of those benefits. So they end up doing this thing where they sleep every other hour because they're constantly grooming. They don't have a circadian rhythm. We got an otter ahead of us. You can see it ahead of us.
You see it, Mama? You see the otters right there? They're so cute.
Yeah, so they don't really care. All right, it's down.
There was one diving and went down.
Look off to your right. You see this patch of yellow? This yellow thing directly off our right? So that's a giant jellyfish.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's called an egg yolk jellyfish. Pretty aptly named. We saw that earlier. It's got a bell that's about 1.5 feet wide. We got a bunch of different jellyfish out here. So we got the egg yolks, we got purple stripes, sea nettles, moon jellies, strawberry jellyfish, red spots, all the whole
Strawberry.
thing.
Strawberry
A
jellyfish.
couple more otters. Now we're starting to see more of them.
I'm ready.
Just chilling on this side. See the ducks?
And we got some, so we've got some harbor seals here as well. Can anybody point them out? Where are they?
I don't know.
If you don't see them at first, that means it's working. Right? All right, so I'll give you a hint. It's kind of on our left side. Well, it's almost now directly on our left side, so it didn't really work. So it's a kind of a big hint. There you go. So you can see them sitting along the shoreline there. There you go. They just kind of look like rocks and logs, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that means
It's working.
they got it good. Yeah, so these guys, we're going to see more of them farther up ahead. But they rely on camouflage to stay safe. We used to have grizzlies and wolves out here until about through the 1850s when we promptly hunted them all out
Oh,
within about 5 years of us being a state.
wow.
I think the last grizzly in California was hunted out around 1900.
Wow.
But now they don't have any land predators here. They don't know that, so they're going to keep doing what they're doing. This otter to our left looks like it might be a younger one. Maybe a little more recently off on its own. If you look at them, they kind of look babyish. They've got kind of a shorter face, bigger eyes. Just generally shorter. This is another one of the cormorants.
Oh.
So otters out here usually eat three main things. They don't eat any urchins out here. They're eating crabs and clams and this thing called a fat innkeeper worm. Fat innkeeper worms are this bratwurst-sized burrowing worm that lives in the mud here. They can be up to 10 inches long. They look like a big hot dog. They're really gross. It's like something that's like so gross that it passes through the bottom of the scale and comes back to interesting.
Pero que estés conmigo, pero he tenido algo más de comer. Solo vas. Babo.
Out to the left here, we got some, looks like some brown pelicans. There's only 2 species of pelican in North America, and we got both of them right here.
Oh.
So, you got all these brown pelicans. They're kind of like brown bodies, white heads. Well, then you got a couple of them that looks like there's only 2 of them sitting on this ridge kind of off to the 10 o'clock. These are American white pelicans. There's just 2 white lumps sitting there. Those are actually the 2nd largest bird in North America. They got a 10-foot wingspan. They're second only to California condors. They're really, really cool. They migrate up here from the Gulf of Mexico on their way to Alberta, Canada. Also, we got some more harbor seals off to the right.
See?
So these harbor seals, do you hear anything?
Mm-mm.
No, they don't bark. That'd be kind of make the camouflage kind of useless if they did, right? Instead, they make these kind of like hollers. They do kind of some death metal growls. You hear a lot of sneezing and snorting. But they aren't very good at defending themselves actively, so that's why they have to rely on that camouflage. They obviously aren't setting any land speed records. They aren't very flexible. They can't move around very fast on land. But they come in all sorts of colors. They run from like bright white down to dark black. They got brown, silver, tan, spots, stripes, all sorts of stuff.